What would you like to see change in your life? And what is the biggest obstacle that you're facing now? I run a 5-week program at the Inner Knowing School for serious individuals who are ready to take the next step in their personal and professional lives. I will personally be coaching a small group of individuals, a number of practical tools and frameworks for creating an intuition practice and for self mastery. You can find more at theinnerknowingschool.com. I have a master's certification in intuition medicine, and I've condensed 10 plus years of experience and research navigating how to harness your energy and intuition in an easy to access live curated course. Now, as someone who's helped countless creatives, entrepreneurs, and many who are just plain stuck, open doors of possibility they never thought existed, I've seen this strategy transform people's inner states and external reality. And the best part is that you'll skyrocket your output and unlock your creative genius. I'll work with you weekly live to overcome your limiting beliefs and show you how to manage your energy instead of your time. I'll teach you how to create clarity, processes, develop your intuition based on some of the top tools and frameworks that I've developed. And you'll get access to guided meditations and visualizations not available anywhere else. This method is so effective that even if you don't have that much time, or if you think that you might not be ready, this will work for you. You can check out the link in the show notes to join the waiting list, and you can check out what past clients had to say about the program. Wishing you all many blessings ahead. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Blood Moon Box, a monthly subscription box service for period pads and tampons to help support all humans who have a cycle for that time of the month, and no need to run to a store to mix and match period supplies that don't cater to the entire ebbs and flows of your cycle. There are 2 box options based on your cycle, light and medium, and then heavy. And in addition to the period products, you'll also receive PMS herbal teas, a candle, and some other items for your time of the month. You can reserve a box by navigating to bloodmoonbox.com. And bloodmoonbox.com is on a mission to destigmatize the idea of period blood. At Blood Moon Box, they believe that it is the time to honor the enchanting magic within every person who has a cycle. So join us in embracing the magic of your cycle with Blood Moon Box. Hi, my name is Yasmin Tarehi, and this is Gateways to Awakening, where we host one-on-one conversations with leading experts in wellness, well-being, and spirituality. On today's episode, I speak with Arielle Ford, a love and relationship expert and a leading personality in the personal growth and spirituality movement. And for the past 25 years, she's been living, teaching, and promoting consciousness through all forms of media. Her mission is to help people find love, keep love, and most importantly, be love. Arielle is a gifted writer. She's the author of 11 books, including the international bestseller, The SOULMATE SECRET, Manifest the Love of Your Life with the Law of Attraction, which I just recently read. She's also the author of Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate, devoted to exploring a simple, fun, and effective way to attain groundbreaking shifts in perception so that you can embrace and find the beauty and perfection in yourself and your mate. She's been called the Cupid of consciousness and the fairy godmother of love. I am so excited to welcome Arielle to the show. We recently met at a conference a couple months ago, and I've just been voraciously reading her books and checking out her work. And her newest book, The Love Thief, is a novel, and we'll dig into that book as well on the show. So welcome to the show, Arielle.
Thanks, Yasmin. I've been looking forward to this. I love going deep dish with smart, conscious women.
Likewise. So, Arielle, what are the major themes for finding love? Just to kick it off, what are some of the things that you've noticed on this journey for folks who are really interested in finding love?
Well, there's 2 kinds of people out there looking for love. There are the ones that say they want it, but they're not willing to do anything about it. And then there are the ones who say it's their number one priority, their deepest desire. It's what their soul is most calling for. And they're willing to put themselves out there, become visible, and do a lot of dating, even though dating sometimes isn't so much fun. And they're the ones that tend to be the most successful.
Hmm. And so what is holding people back who say they want love, but then are not actually, kind of putting themselves out there or doing anything in the direction of finding love?
Well, it's a lot of different things. It's sort of per the individual. But for a lot of women that I've come in contact with, um, they have work that they love and they love to be busy and they're smart and they're successful and they're go getters. And finding love, even though they say it's a priority, really isn't. Because if you look at their calendar, they have absolutely no time. Like the only time they think about love is like midnight on a Saturday night as they're driving home from some great event and realizing they have no one to talk to about it. And then they're like, oh, yeah, on Monday, I'm going to make a plan to start dating. And then Monday comes and they have to make 101 phone calls and do a million Zoom meetings. And they're on, riding the dopamine wave and having such a great time working until they fall into bed exhausted and realize there's nobody there to share their day with. So that tends to be the kind of women I end up coaching most often because it's just like if you like to work out or you need to work out, most people put it on the schedule, right? It's like a non-negotiable. That's how it really needs to be when you're thinking about finding your soulmate life partner. It needs to be non-negotiable. You've got to make time for it. Not like, well, when I meet somebody, then I'll make the time.
Mm.
It doesn't work like that.
Wow, that's so fascinating. Really, really interesting. So you suggest that people put time on the calendar to focus on, and when you say finding love, that also means preparing yourself, right, for being open to love and being in a receptive mode to it, right? So there's so many things that you share in the Soulmate Secret about attracting love in your life. So maybe we could dig into some of these tips and strategies that you've come up with.
Yeah. So you mentioned the key word here, and it's about being receptive, right? uh, you have to really decide, yes, now is the time. I'm open, willing, and available. I'm ready to receive my beloved. And I'm willing to carve out time on the calendar to do that. So maybe it's 30 to 45 minutes, 5 days a week when you're going through the dating apps and setting up, video chats and some get to know you coffee dates. That's a really important thing to do. The other thing is you want to put date nights on your calendar. So there's a section of the book called Living as If. When you're living as if, your behavior follows your beliefs. My belief is the one is out there and he or she is also looking for me. The strategy for it is I'm going to now go out and I'm going to buy tickets to concerts and plays and events that I want to go to. I'm going to put them on the calendar. And then I'm going to envision and imagine and call in the right date to go with me. And should he or she not show up, then you take a friend. But you're giving the universe this big sign. Not only am I willing to date, I'm setting up the dates. I've got the tickets here in my wallet. I'm ready to go. So that's just one strategy that's very useful.
Arielle, for people that are single or have been single for a very long time and maybe have been burned many times when it comes to love and don't necessarily believe in a soulmate or don't necessarily believe in love, I mean, what would you say to them?
I think the first thing I'd want to explain is what a soulmate is. Because it's one of those words that has, ask 1,000 people, you get 1,000 answers. I believe that a soulmate is first and foremost somebody you can completely be yourself with, somebody with whom you share unconditional love. And when you look into their eyes, you have the experience of being home. And if you accept that definition, then the really good news is that you probably already have many, many soulmates. It could be your siblings, your parents, your kids, your best friends, your coworkers, your cats or your dogs. So there is no shortage of love in your life. And if your soul is calling for a romantic soulmate, a soulmate life partner to spend your life with, then you have to be able to become an emotionally mature adult and manage your belief system. My old friend Wayne Dyer always used to say, don't believe every thought that you have. And that's one of my favorite sayings, because we have crazy thoughts all day long, but just because we have them doesn't make it true. So have we all been burnt in love before? Yes, we have.
Mm.
It's just how it goes. Can you get over it? Yes. Is it going to be like that forever? Doesn't have to be, unless, you're looking for trouble. So there are days when you're going to be dating and you're going to think, this doesn't work. Why does it work for everybody else but me? And one thing I know for sure is that God is not up there in his or her place looking down saying, oh, Yasmin, no love for you. Everybody else can have love, no love for you. That is not happening. There's an abundance of love everywhere. So the place to begin is with a daily practice, a daily gratitude practice, where you take a few minutes, move from your head to your heart, and start to visualize all those soulmates you already have, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your coworkers, your cats, your dogs. And as you see each one in your heart, send them a wave of love, and then have some gratitude for the abundance of love you already have. And when you do that, you make yourself magnetic to pulling in romantic love.
Wow, that's so powerful, Aria. I love that so much. The idea of, that there are so many types of soulmates that enter our lives, and that we should be appreciating the love that we have, rather than, looking at love from like a scarcity mindset and just focusing on romantic love as the only type of love, or the highest maybe love that should be aspiring towards. So I really, really appreciate that so much.
Well,
So
while we're talking about love, I want to give you one more definition.
okay.
Is most people don't really know what love is. They think love is that state of being in love where your brain is on fire with dopamine and adrenaline and oxytocin, and it's the world's greatest drug high, and it's nature's trick to get us to procreate, to keep the species going. And it generally happens with somebody you really don't even know at all. And people call that love. And then when that feeling goes away, and it does go away, technically it only lasts for 3 months to 2 years if you're lucky. When the feeling goes away, they're kind of left in the state of, oh, maybe that wasn't real. Maybe maybe I never loved him. Maybe he never loved me. And what I've come to understand is that love is not a feeling. Now, there are good feelings to love, but love is not a feeling. Love is a behavior. Love is a choice. Love is an action. Love is a decision. Love is a way of being. And when you're with your soulmate life partner, even if you were or still are madly in love with them, there will be days guaranteed when you don't like them very much, or you may even hate them. And it doesn't mean that you don't love them.
Wow.
So that's the really the adult mature way to understand what love is, because we were spoon fed these Disney fantasies. Someday my prince will come. I'll take a bite out of this apple and he'll know everything I've ever wanted. And then we meet somebody and they've got 80% of our list and they're really a good fit for us. But they have these 3 things that they do that we just can't stand. And we're just so picky. We can't find a way to love what we deem unlovable, when in fact it's just preferences. And I actually wrote a whole book about this called Wabi Sabi Love. And wabi sabi is the ancient Japanese aesthetic of finding beauty and perfection in imperfection.
Yep.
And it's something that is really worth taking the time to understand how to do, especially if you have to live with yourself for the rest of your life, because the person who needs your wabi sabi love more than anybody is you, is us.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to go back to something you said, because I think this is a really important point. You make the distinction of your brain on dopamine and oxytocin, all the feelings you get from like that kind of chemical feeling in your body, which I think a lot of people have misconstrued for love. And then you also said, love is a behavior, it's a decision. And I really want to highlight that point. Like, love is a decision and a choice that you make. Because I think that there is obviously a lot of kind of immature thinking about the idea that this person is not who I think they are. And like, there's no real desire for growth to happen too. And so I think that I've heard this from many people where there is also a focus on growing together and being open to the idea that like we are human beings who are going to change, and we want to give space in our romantic relationships and in this dynamic. So I'm also curious because you talk about keeping love, right? So how do we keep love? How do we make that love last? And maybe you can even share a story or two that you've noticed has worked for people.
Absolutely. So it's all about choice, right? So when the feelings go away, and they may go away, then you get to really choose your partner. And if you've chosen wisely, it isn't even that hard. There's been some research done on what it takes, what are the elements that it takes to have a long, happy, healthy marriage or partnership. It takes connection, compatibility, good communication, which thank God can be learned, some chemistry, although chemistry is actually the least important. The single most important trait in a long term, healthy, happy marriage is a shared vision for the future. If you don't have that right off the top, you can't make it work. That would be things like we both want children. We both don't want children. We both want to live together under the same roof 24/7, or we want to be married and committed and have two separate houses. We want a vacation at the beach. We want a vacation in the mountains, or we don't care if we take separate vacations. There's no rules about what that has to look like, just that you're agreed upon the big things, the values that are most important to you. So that requires that you just can't pop off and marry somebody because you have that I'm in love feeling, because you're now having that I'm in love feeling with a virtual stranger. So in an ideal situation, you spend at least a year, if not longer, dating somebody exclusively, really getting to know them, know their friends and family. They know your friends and family, seeing that you do have these, shared values before you like sign on the dotted line and say, hey, babe, I'm yours forever.
So, when do you feel like that conversation needs to happen in the dating journey? In terms of shared values and an idea of a person. Getting to know a person takes a
I
while.
would say from the first conversation. I don't advise anybody to leave their home anymore to go meet somebody, whether it's a blind date or, a coffee meetup. Do not leave your house until you've had at least one video chat with them. At least one, ideally two. Because there's certain things, like, and especially in this day and age, you really need to find out where they are politically. Are they a vaxxer or an anti-vaxxer? Right? Are they a Trumper or anything but a Trumper? And I don't care which you are, but there are some things that are just, so incendiary that you kind of need to know that up front. So start with a video chat, start with the big issues, and you can do it in a lighthearted, fun way. And if you're dating online, I suggest you even do that in your profile, where you could just say, hey, I'm sort of a traditional girl next door looking for the white picket fence and a few babies with liberal views. That's a good headline. Okay, because that's gonna be all the ones who are just looking for a hookup. They know that you want kids. They know that you're gonna vote blue, not red. And they're gonna X themselves out. And people say to me, "Oh, but I don't want to scare anybody off." And I'm like, "Yes, you do." It's a sorting process. You do want to scare them off. I talked to this one woman. Oh God, I think I met her in the TSA line at the airport a few days ago. And oh yeah, that's where I met her. And I said, well, where are you coming from? And she gave me this crazy story about how she lives in Cleveland and she met a guy online who lives in Idaho. And they had a couple of FaceTimes, and it seemed to be really fun. And it was a holiday week. We just had this holiday
Hmm.
weekend, and he invited me out. And then she got there and she discovered that, there were guns all over the
Oh my
house.
God.
He's a hunter. She's a yoga vegan person, right? And he had Fox News on the whole time, and she doesn't even want to read the newspaper. And like within 20 minutes of being in his home, all she could think of was, oh my God, I've got 5 more days, right? How do I get out of this? And it doesn't have to be that way. So don't leave your house, get on a video chat and be lighthearted about it. There's enough craziness in the news every day to say, oh my God, did you see they just killed 72 more people in a Walmart? When are they going to get guns under control?
Right.
And the person on the other side is either going to say, yeah, isn't it horrible? I agree with you. Or they're going to say, hey, would you like to see my AK-47? In which case you end meeting, right?
Right, right. Got it. So basically, air out the value conversation from the beginning and don't leave your house. Have conversations. It's interesting though, because it does take a while. And also people also can be very different on the phone and on video versus in person, right? So there is this kind of interesting dynamic that can play out. Okay, so what about in terms of keeping love? Let's say, one of your clients has done the work. They found their partner, right? They've made the choice to continue to choose them. How do we keep love?
It's just a conscious choice. You just have to decide, I am choosing this person. I am going all in. I'm going to love and respect them, knowing that I'm not always going to agree with them. Right? And then, when stuff comes up, you have to ask yourself, is this worth fighting over? And, how can I learn to accept this behavior, or how can I have a conversation that explains why this behavior doesn't work for me? But, what most women don't know about men is that they did a study a zillion years ago where I think there were 78,000 men in the study. And what they learned was 80% of these 78,000 men said that respect was more important to them than love, that they needed respect from their woman more than they needed her love.
That's so fascinating. And also it reminds me of Dr. Pat Allen's work where
Yeah,
she,
well, listen, she's a genius. There's no question about it. I sat at the feet of Dr. Pat Allen. Marianne Williamson and I used to go on Tuesday nights to some theater on the UCLA campus, and we were Dr. Pat girls, and we'd raise our right hand and we would take the vows. And whatever Dr. Pat said, we would do.
oh my gosh, I had a reading with her at like a one-on-one session last summer, and it was it was a riot. I did the oath as well, which it's just I think she must be like 95 at this point. But anyways,
God bless her.
yeah, yeah. So okay, so respect, very important when it comes to dating. What about, okay, so you talk about visualization, you talk about kind of understanding how energy moves through our space is also important. So can you talk to us about these concepts? Like
Yeah.
why is visualization so important?
Okay, so I don't call it visualization because visualizations don't work. A visualization is when you have pretty pictures in your head. So let's say you've decided, I need a new car. I want the newest, hottest BMW. It needs to be navy blue with a tan convertible top and a wooden steering wheel. And you see yourself driving down the 405 and your hair is blowing back and you can feel the wood in your hands and smell the leather seats. And while you're having this experience, the feeling that you're having is, wow, beautiful car, but it's too expensive. I can never afford it. I'm never going to have it. And your feelings have just canceled out your pretty pictures in your head. So what I discovered long ago was that the thing you want to have is a feelingization. You want to get out of your head and get out of the pretty pictures and drop down into your heart. And while you're in your heart, you want to call up memories and past experiences of love, appreciation, and gratitude. So in the case of the BMW, I would drop down into my heart. I would feel what it feels like to have the income and the wherewithal to buy myself a 6-figure BMW, and how good it would feel to be driving around in this car, knowing that I had earned it and that it was mine and it was a safe, beautiful, fun car to drive. So I call that a feelingization. And those work a million times better than the pretty pictures in your head. And when it comes to love, there's a particular feelingization that I created for myself. It's now 26 years ago that works. And I call it the golden cord feelingization. And before I tell you how to do it, because it's quite easy, I want to set up a little quantum science that explains it. So in quantum science, we understand that there is no time. There's no past. There's no future. There's just this now moment. And we also understand that we all live in the unified field, that we all live in this matrix where we are already connected to everything and everybody. So those are two of the basic tenets of quantum science. So accepting that, the truth is, in this now moment, you are already connected to your soulmate life partner. Now, you don't know his or her name. You don't know where they're living. You don't know the day, time, and place that you will meet in the 3D world. But if you move your attention from your head to your heart, you put yourself into this state of what heart math calls heart coherence, where you're feeling feelings of love, appreciation, and gratitude. And then you send out a golden cord of light from your heart into the unified field, directing it to drop into the heart of the most perfect, beloved soulmate life partner for you. Then you can have what I call love before first sight. You can start that relationship right now in this now moment in the unified field.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. That's so powerful. And how long does this visualization,
Well, I give it,
feelingization take?
yeah, it takes 8 minutes and I give it away for free on my website. And it's in the section of my website called Free Stuff. Just go to Free Stuff. There's a whole bunch of feelingizations, and you can get the one called Golden Cord and download it. And I would recommend that you do it every day and you start that relationship today. Now, when I made this one up for myself 26 years ago, I had no idea if it was going to work or if it wasn't going to work, but I did it every day. And when Brian and I met, on the day that we met, we both knew what was going to happen. He had seen me in his dreams for several nights before we met, and this is pre-internet days. He was living in another city. We didn't know what the other one looked like. We were meeting at a business meeting, so we weren't even on a date. And I understood later, once we really connected, that we had that instantaneous connection because I had started the relationship with him 6 months earlier by meeting him in the field. So, does this work? Yes, it works. Does it take practice? Yes, it takes practice, but it's fun and it's easy, and you can have love before first sight.
And so you're doing this every day for 6 months, or you kind of like
Yeah,
for a
I
period
was
of time?
doing that and other things. I mean, that's what the Soulmate Secret book is all about. It's pretty much everything I did to manifest my soulmate. Now, I was already a very good manifester. I had
Mhm.
manifested an incredible business, a great career, but I had never thought about using those skills on manifesting love until I woke up one morning at the age of 44 and went, oh my God, I forgot to get married. And that's when I decided to take everything I had used to manifest my business and apply it to my love life.
Yeah, I loved reading your story because I think a lot of women, as we kind of move through into our especially 40s, even 50s and 60s, there's always this moment where if I meet someone who just recently went through a breakup or is newly single or single has been single for a long time, they always talk about their age. And really, it's unfortunate because you can really find love at any age. I remember my one of my best friends' mothers used to say, "The heart never grows old." There's always room for love at any
Well,
age.
I have success stories. My most favorite success story was my mother-in-law, Peggy. She was married for 55 years. She became a widow. 5 years after her husband died, she called me up one day and said, I'm ready for another relationship. And I blurted out, but Peggy, you're 80. And she said to me, does that matter? I
Mm.
said, I guess not. And, let's remember the internet was brand new when we were doing this. This was about, 25 years ago. So it was pretty new. Match.com was pretty new. She had a friend who took her onto Match.com, and there were three men in the over 80 category. And she gave her phone number out to one of them. He called her the next day. Long story short, they fell in love, got married, and they had 6.5 incredible years together until they both died.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Amazing. I love that so much. Oh, wow. And so, okay, so let's talk a little bit about understanding our energy and also how qi and feng shui kind of is important and really uh, reinvigorating our space so that we can actually be receptive towards love. You talk a lot about that in your book, and I wanted to share some of the tips. If you could talk about some of these tips that
Yeah,
you
I'm
include.
a big, big fan of feng shui. And it's, the first step to feng shuiing your home is to clear out the clutter and to get rid of all the old and negative energy. And in the Soulmate Secret, there's an entire chapter on how to do that. But the most basic things you can do is get some sage, the Native American technique of saging, and then, smoke all the corners and the doors and the window jambs of your home to burn off all the negative energy. Another easy good thing to do is on a sunny day, open all the doors and the windows, and with your broom and your imagination, sweep out all the old energy. So those are just two things you can do to clear the old energy. And then you want to get rid of clutter. And then you want to send the universe a very strong message that your home is ready to receive a beloved. And even if you're 100% sure that you will never live in the place you're living now with your, soon to come soulmate, it's a good exercise to do anyway. So you would start in the bedroom, and you would make sure that there's a nightstand on both sides of the bed that are of equal height, and make sure the drawers on the nightstand on their side of the bed are totally empty. Then make sure there's one drawer in the chest of drawers that's empty for them. Make some space in the closet for them to hang their clothes. Give them at least half a shelf in the bathroom cabinet, so that your bedroom is basically screaming to the universe, I have space and room for you in my home. So, energetically, that's a really good place to start.
Amazing. Okay, so folks can kind of take a inventory of their space and clear out, declutter. You could read the book too for very precise information on this piece. And what about some stories of people maybe who shifted their space and found love after using some of these tips? Is there?
Yes, that happened to a friend of mine. I'm not going to out him because he's very famous, but we went to lunch one day, and he was really sad. He had been living with this woman, and she dumped him. And he was young. He was like in his early 30s, but he really thought she was the one. And as he was talking to me, he said, and every time I walk into the living room and I see all these framed photos of the two of us together and all the traveling that we did, I really sink into a sad place. And I just looked at him and I said, hey, Nick, let's get rid of the pictures. Okay, let's take them all down and either throw them away or put them in a box in the garage, or better yet, take them to your mother's house if you can't throw them away. But let's get rid of all the pictures. And he went home and he did that. And about maybe 2 weeks later, he called me and he had the happiest voice. And it's like, well, what happened to you? You sound so great. He goes, I met the woman I'm going to marry. And I said, what are you talking about? You were like so depressed. He goes, I'm telling you, I went home to visit my sister, and my sister had her best friend from college there. And we just looked into each other's eyes. And long story short, 8 months later, Brian and I went to their wedding,
Wow.
and they now have two kids. I think the youngest one just turned 4. And all he did was a little feng shui, because it was triggering conscious and subconscious feelings for him that kept triggering more depression. And once he got that energy out of his house, love found him.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. It's interesting because I have a lot of friends who keep, kind of trinkets, mementos, notes, letters from past lovers. And I'm always like, just get rid of that. Like,
Yeah, and
just,
what's really dangerous is the women who are still wearing the jewelry that their exes gave them. Because as we know, gemstones and gold and platinum and metals, they hold energy. So every time you take the diamond that you took out of your last engagement ring and you repurposed as a necklace, you're like being choked by
yep.
your ex. That energy is surrounding you. Just give it away, sell it, but don't repurpose it. Okay. Just get rid of it. You can buy yourself new jewelry.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So, you've also spoken a lot about the power of gratitude and how that can help attract not just love but also joy and abundance in life. And can you talk to me about your daily gratitude practice? Do you still have a daily gratitude
Well,
practice?
that's the one I talked about earlier. Yes, where you drop into your heart and you give
Hmm.
thanks for all the love that's already in your life. Because with the law of attraction states that we draw to us the people, places, and experiences that match our state of being. So if our state of being is, I'm so happy, I'm so lovable, I'm so grateful for all the good in my life, you're vibrating at the frequency of abundance, which pulls in more abundance. Or if you're stuck in, I'm such a loser, I'm so unlovable, love's never going to find me, I'm going to die a lonely old cat woman, that's what you're manifesting. you know that's what you're drawing in. So having a daily gratitude process is for you to remind you, aren't I so fortunate that I have so much good in my life? And no matter how bad things are, you can find some good. There's a line in the Course in Miracles that says, in this moment I have everything that I need. In this
Mm,
moment, I have everything that I need. And pretty much that's always true. Do you have fresh air to breathe, clean water to drink, a place to sit, friends who love you? And if that's true, then just repeat to yourself, in this moment, I have everything that I need. And since the only thing that's real is this now moment, if you're living in the past or living in the future, you're just doing a form of self torture.
mm. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. So, gratitude journal is an absolute must for pushing people into the feeling state. Because I think that question has come up a lot when people are like, well, how do I feel that way if I don't actually feel that way? And I think that, the gratitude, and there's been a lot
Well,
of
let me
research
answer
on
the how. The how is you remember a time when you did feel that way and you drop into your heart and you call up that memory. So, like I've been sick the last couple of days and I certainly don't like the way I feel when I'm sick. So, what I've been doing the last few days is remembering how fun and great it is when I feel normal, right? And my gratitude is, dear God, Goddess, and all that is, I'm so grateful that my body has healed, already healed, and that I'm feeling so good.
mm,
Fake it till you make it. I mean,
mm,
that really does work.
I love that, Arielle. And you speak a lot about forgiveness as well. Why is forgiveness so important?
Oh, I know. Forgiveness is, it's taken me years to really master. I don't think I've mastered it, but to get over it, because I'm a vengeful kind of gal. I think about ways to get revenge. In fact, there, that's a big part of my new book, The Love Thief. This is The Love Thief's about a woman. He broke her heart, he crushed her dreams, and then karma intervened. And she does get revenge. She gets it all. She gets all good things, but at some point she has to forgive. And at some point we
Mm,
all have to forgive, and we do it for us. We don't
mm,
forget, just because somebody harmed you, you can forgive and you can never see them again if that's your choice. But if you're not forgiving, you're the one who's suffering, because they may never be thinking about you at all. They may not even agree that they did anything wrong, right? But we,
right.
we feel harmed, and it's not fun. So, and it's a slow process. There's plenty of times where I think I've forgiven somebody, but then I get reminded or I see them and something pops up and it's like, oh, I just want to kill them. I just want to do mean, terrible things to them. I always have, and I've made up a prayer for myself. And the prayer is, dear God, please give this person everything that they deserve, both good and bad.
Oh, you are so funny. That is amazing. I'm so grateful that you are honest about this because I think so many people, so I'm clairaudient and I can oftentimes hear a lot of what people are thinking. And it's so many people are so out of integrity with what they say versus what they think. And I just love that you said that because I think that's true for a lot of people. I think forgiveness is an incredibly true forgiveness, right? Not the kind of, layered forgiveness, the top layer of forgiveness, but the true forgiveness is difficult, right? For many people.
And when you're married to your soulmate, you have to be really good at that because your partner's going to do stuff that you don't want to forgive them for. You just want to punch them out and you want to say really horrible things to them, but you don't because you don't, you will get over it someday, but it's your job to get over it. That's the other thing, it's like, people do stupid shit all the time. And it's not like they woke up in the morning saying, oh, what could I do today to really piss Yasmin off? What could I do to just make her miserable? Nobody ever had that thought, ever. But, we react like they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
It's hard being human. It really is.
Yeah.
There's many days where I prefer the company of cats, but I'm getting better.
Oh my goodness. So Arielle, you spoke a little bit about your latest book, The Love Thief, and how karma kind of has reigned in the story. Why did you write this book? What was the purpose of it?
I didn't have a choice. Here's what happened. So I've written 11 nonfiction books, and I can write nonfiction with, my hands tied behind my back. It's pretty effortless. But then one day, this title for the book came to me, and then the first line came, and then it downloaded in my head like a movie. And I kept trying to make it go away. I kept saying, no, I have never in my life had the conscious thought I should write a novel. I don't know how to write a novel. I don't want to write a novel. Go away. And yet it wouldn't go away. And as the movie kept unfolding, I saw that most of it takes place in Rishikesh, India, a place I've been to that I really enjoy. But I never walked the streets of Rishikesh trying to describe it in a novel. So I realized that if I were going to write this book, I would need to go back to India. So I made a deal with God. I said, okay, God, if I'm supposed to write this book, I'm going to manifest a business class ticket to India. And then I just took this big sigh of relief. I thought, oh, well, that's never going to happen. That's like $7,000 ticket. That's not going to happen. 2 days later, I had the ticket in my hand.
Wow.
2 weeks later, I was walking the streets of Rishikesh, and everything I saw in this movie in my head, I was tripping over. So I finally accepted the fact that somewhere on some plane of existence, I made some agreement to bring this story forth. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done because I basically the learning curve was incredible. I discovered that the only thing that fiction and nonfiction have in common in terms of writing both, the only thing they have in common is words. I couldn't take anything I knew about writing nonfiction and have it inform this level of storytelling. However, what I can tell you after 4.5 years of writing, I am completely thrilled with how the story turned out. I've gotten incredible endorsements from lots of important people, and I'm happy with the story. And I discovered after I wrote it that I really wrote it for myself because the main theme of the story is betrayal and overcoming betrayal. And I had in mind my heroine in the book. Her name is Holly. I really saw Holly as a 3-person composite of 3 women that I know whose lives were virtually ruined by toxic narcissists. So I thought she was the composite character. It wasn't until I finished writing the book that a memory came up for me of a relationship I had when I was 30 with a toxic narcissist. And I saw that I was able to write that deep emotional rage and guilt and sadness and depression from my own experience that I had suppressed.
Wow.
So, and I didn't know that at the time. I really thought I was writing it, for these friends of mine who could then read it and did read it and said to me, "Oh, you wrote this book for me." And part of me was saying, "Yes, I did." And now, all this time later, I see that I wrote it for me too.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I have so many questions I'm gonna have to ask you after the show because I'm like, wow, I was planning to go to Rishikesh this year and I was on the fence about it. And I'm like, now hearing about this
Oh, you
story.
have to go to Rishikesh. Absolutely. It is the place on the planet where the veils are the thinnest. It's one of the holy cities of India. It's the most beautiful city in India, I think. And I've been to India 9 times and I've seen more of the country than most people who were born there. It's a fabulous place, but Rishikesh is really special.
Wow, I'm getting like full body chills. Amazing. Okay. So, why do you think that this subject is important, Arielle? Why did you spend so much of your life focused on love?
What a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that. Initially, I got onto this path because I was 44 and single and decided I didn't want to be single anymore. And I thought, oh, well, all I need to do is manifest my soulmate and then I'll live happily ever after. I had never studied this. So I manifest this absolutely perfect human being, perfect for me. And a few months after we got married, stuff started to come up, and I started to have really negative feelings towards him certain times, and starting to notice that I had feelings that I hadn't had since I was like a little girl, and my father was being a certain way, and I realized that even though I had manifested my soulmate, I was coming into the marriage with no partnership skills, none. I had grown up in a home where my parents hated each other and fought all the time. I'd never seen what a healthy relationship looks like. So I decided what I needed to do was to become a student of love. And that's the path I put myself on. And over the course of years, I interviewed 200 of the world's leading love, marriage, and relationship experts. And every time I'd get a nugget from one of them, I'd go try it out. And the ones that worked ended up in my book called Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate, because I realized that what the skill I came into the marriage with, this is so embarrassing. I'm really good at being the boss, which if you marry an alpha male, it's not a quality they're looking for. I had to really learn how to, separate my work self from my partner self, and how to develop some feminine qualities, because we also started a business together, which was fascinating in a lot of levels and not fascinating on the days when he wasn't working at the speed of light, which is the speed I work at. Now, he works smarter than I do. He's no question smarter than I am. He was doing things in the business I could never do. But since I had always been the boss, I was used to setting the timetable. And so there was so much to learn, about myself, about being in a partnership, and I'm a better person for it because he had been a professional athlete in 2 different sports. I'd never been a team player. I didn't know what being a team player was like. I didn't know the benefits of being on a team. I'd always been the solopreneur who did it my way.
Wow.
So that's I did all of this for me. People think I do it for other people, but the truth is, this is how I wake up in the morning. What's in it for me today? Like I have friends that are evolutionary people. Like they wake up in the morning and they think about, how can I make the world a better place today? I've never had that thought. I'm a baby boomer. It's like, well, what's in it for me? And because I teach wabi sabi love, I've learned to find the beauty and perfection in this imperfection of mine. I
Mm,
am I am a people say that I'm a giver, and I guess there's a part of me that is, but the part of me I most relate to is the part of me that's a taker.
mm. What's your sign? I'm just curious,
I'm a
Ariel.
Capricorn, Scorpio rising, Moon in Gemini, and I have Venus and Mars conjunct in the third.
Okay, just
So I
curious.
was meant to be a writer. I know that. And it's great that I'm a Gemini moon because I'm married to a Gemini, so astrologically, we're a really good mix.
Mm.
Um, but other than that, that's about all I know about astrology, except that I still read it in the newspaper.
Yeah, yeah, just curious. I've been studying it as well. So, what about, things that may have surprised you the most looking back on your kind of career and the books that you've written and maybe the work that you've done with people? What sort of surprised you the most?
Um, oh, well, the fact that I've been successful is a big surprise to me because I was a terrible student. I was a barely C minus student. And I flunked out of junior college my first semester. I don't know. I didn't know that was possible, but I did. And my father made me go get a job. And after I had a job for a few weeks, I begged him to send me back to junior college. I promised I would never flunk out again. And I eventually did go to the University of Florida and I got a degree, but I never got anything better than a C. So I wasn't the smart one, and the fact that I could get a job always made my mother happy because she didn't think, she was concerned that I wouldn't be able to take care of myself. So any of the success that I've had has been the biggest surprise. And the thing that I most enjoy is that now that I have sort of this encyclopedia filled mind of all this love stuff that I've studied, it's really fun to talk about and it's really fun to share. And it's really pretty amazing that people don't know sort of the basics. They just like the biggest decision of their life and they make it based on really stupid shit. Right?
Right,
Oh
right.
God, he's 6'4" and he makes, $300,000 a year and he's got these great dimples. And, yes, both his parents are addicts, but he's adorable. And then they go and get married and then, he beats the crap out of her and she ends up in a shelter. And I don't know what went wrong. It's like, well, if you'd done your homework, you could have found that he has an arrest record for being violent with women. Like there's, people just make really bad decisions.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, what an important, I feel like that's such an incredibly important reminder for people who are dating and kind of in the journey of finding a soulmate is to really go back to first principles, which are like the meeting of values. I really want to like underscore that because I've anecdotally also just have seen across the board there's so much of also like projection on things that are sort of not lasting, right? That are very
Right.
superficial,
And,
materialistic. Yeah.
that's why arranged marriages work as well as they do. They work much better than what we call love marriages. The divorce rate in India still to this day is only 10%. Why? Because the parents and the matchmaker are starting with values. They're starting with core things. Now, and then they grow to love each other. I don't know if you watch these shows on Netflix. I'm addicted. One's called Indian Matchmaking.
Oh, yeah.
It's a riot. And then there's a new one called Jewish Matchmaking. Now, I'm Jewish, and I have to say, I learned so much about Judaism watching Jewish Matchmaker. And their belief is that your your partner, the one that you marry, doesn't become your soulmate until you're under the huppah, taking sacred vows, and you've broken the glass. And at that moment, they become your soulmate. And at that moment, you choose to love and respect each other and to build a life together. And then the love feelings come later, but the
Mm.
choices are made on values.
Mm. I love that so much. Wow, love that. It's something that has been, I think, there's sort of an orthodoxy that let's put it this way. There was such an orthodoxy towards like religious kind of marriages and, maybe marriages that were focused more on traditional. And I feel like we've over-indexed for just focusing on our feelings and maybe chemicals and the materialistic piece. And now I feel like there's maybe even a balance between the two, right? It's like
Yeah.
not swinging in one direction or the other completely.
Well,
But
listen, life is hard, so what you want ultimately. People say, "How do I know I'm with my soulmate?" And it's actually quite easy. You first want to make sure you've spent at least a year with them and you've checked out their family and friends and vice versa, and that there's, a match there. But then you want somebody who believes that your happiness is as important to them as their own. Somebody who's going to be one of your best friends, maybe not your only best friend, but one of your best friends. Somebody who's going to hold your hand on the good days and especially the bad days and be your biggest cheerleader and support system. Somebody's going to take a bullet for you,
oh
so
yeah.
you want that level of connection and reliability and certainty that you've chosen a good person. And
Yes.
the thing that I've noticed, which I rarely say publicly because women get so upset with me, but the truth is, and I've asked all the soulmate couples I know, is that the hottest, greatest sex of your life is probably not with your best possible partner. Not that it's not going to be good and fulfilling and satisfying, but the insanely hot, hot, hot stuff could be in your past because that person, you have no commitment with them, right? And you can work out all your fantasies and you can have this hot chemistry, and they could have zero partnership skills and maybe no financial responsibility and never plan to really get a job. And you could have a really wild time with it. So if having a wild time is your most important thing right now, then go have a good time. All
Yeah.
right. But if you're picking out a partner who's going to be the father or mother to your children, you need a little bit more than that kind of heat. Not that you're
Right.
not going to ever have heat. I'm not saying that, but you need to have the rest.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. Amazing, amazing. I really appreciate your time, Arielle. And what do you want to tell our listeners about their kind of wellness, well-being? What's your main takeaway with the work that you're doing? What's the call to action?
Um, I would say commit yourself to being a student of love, right? Like who could you learn from? Is there a couple that you could start observing that could be your avatar couple of what kind of relationship you most want to emulate? I would remind people that there is no shortage of love in the world, that just because you don't have the kind of love that your soul's most calling for right now doesn't mean it isn't right around the corner if you're willing to put in a little time and energy and action into becoming visible and making your love life work. And one thing I can offer everybody who's listening is I give away a free book on my website, a free online dating guide. It's only 9 pages, but it's got everything you need to know on how to effectively date online. And you need to know that 90% of the people you meet online are going to be horrible and they're going to disappoint you and they're going to ghost you and you're going to hate doing it some of the days. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't work, because it does. I have 3 clients that I've heard from in the last week, all women over 60 who are either now married or engaged from somebody they met on Match.com. So, I don't want to hear that it doesn't work. It works for others, but not for me. That's just BS.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's kind of what I want to say.
Wow, amazing. Oh, amazing, amazing. And where can people find you, Arielle? You've referenced your site and your books. Where can we buy
Yeah,
your stuff?
I'm at arielleford.com and my name is Arielle. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram at arielleford44. And I know I'm on LinkedIn, but I never go to LinkedIn, so don't try to reach me there. And my new book is at thelovethief.com, and it's been described as a rip-rollicking, fun summer beach read.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I cannot wait to read it. Arielle, thank you so much for your time. This was so fascinating, so lovely, and I learned a lot from our conversation. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's always fun talking to you, Yasmin.
Likewise, Arielle. And for our audience, thanks for joining and for listening. In this episode, we learned about how to find and keep love with Arielle Ford. And you can tune in to Gateways to Awakening, where we host one-on-one conversations with leading experts in wellness, well-being, and spirituality. Thanks again.